Welcome to Wild Canyon Games. My name is Lee Selleck, and I'm a part of the geocaching team. And I want to share with you a little bit about our grid this year. We have a 55.5 square mile grid. We have approximately 450 caches on that grid, and that means it's the largest grid in the world. It's a world-class event that we've created, and it's unique in that it's the only geocache race out there. Some of the caches are 7 miles away or more. We have other caches that are just a few hundred yards from the start. So there are caches that anyone of any level of expertise can find. For those who are going to go out looking for the far ones, the environment can be very rugged. So I have a geocache team that I want to introduce you to who's going to talk a little bit more about those areas. First of all, Paul Tanahal. He's going to talk about geocache types and their use. Pete Lebno is going to talk about GPS devices and their capacities. He's also going to talk about safety and awareness. Chris Reeves is going to talk about the terrain and being prepared to go out in it. And then Paul Borick is going to talk about rules and scoring. So team, take it away.
Hi, my name is Paul. I'm known as Pablo Mac on geocaching.com. I'm going to show you some of the containers we're using out here at Wild Canyon Games and then how those containers are typically hidden around here. This is an old style container. Looks like some kind of a plastic peanut butter jar. Of course, you just unscrew the lid. And inside the lid will be the code that you need for the cache that you're finding. Again, we're phasing these out though. This is the new style. Nice PVC, nice camo paint job, a lot more durable out there in the sun and the weather. You just grab both ends and give it a twist, and one end will twist off, of course, and inside the lid of this will be your code for this cache. Put it back together just like so. Next, I'll show you how these are hidden out here. You might find a container as easy to find as this. One of the important things is, once you find a cache container, is to always put it back just the way you found it. Kind of resist the temptation to hide it better than you found it. That goes for the games and for real life geocaching in general. Some caches are more difficult to find than others, but when you do find it, try to take a mental note of how it's hidden. So when you hide it the same way you found it. The sun does play havoc on cache containers, so we try to put them on the north side of rock faces, trees, etc., etc. If you see one laying out in the open, though, go ahead and hide it as close by as you can, cover it up with something reasonable to protect from the sun, but not so ridiculous that the next person can't find it. Of course, always be careful where you're sticking your hands. And also, please make sure you hide it the same way you found it. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Pete. If you haven't selected a GPS device for your team, you're going to need to get cracking. Time's running out and you're going to want to learn how to use your device before you get out here. Just loading the coordinates on and showing up isn't going to be enough. You're going to want to know how to load coordinates on manually in the field, because not all of the quick geocaches are going to be loaded from the site. There are geocaches where you're going to be going from cache to cache and have to enter coordinates manually. So entering coordinates, knowing what the screens mean, going from screen to screen. You're going to want to have a GPS that has topo maps on it, not just street maps, or at the very least have a very good topo map with you and know how to use it with your GPS device. Now, GPSs can cost everywhere from $100 to $500. A $100 GPS will get you there, but make sure it has the features that you need and you're comfortable with. Some people are even using iPhones now, but make sure that the maps are loaded before you come out here, because there's not going to be internet service out here at the ranch. And so you'll want to look at the set of coordinates and load up a set of maps. There's all kinds of software out there that'll do that for you. I'm not going to get into that. I'll let you do your own research. But the iPhone is a really good piece of equipment for doing geocaching. You just got to make sure you're prepared. Also, it's not a bad idea to have a good battery backup, because in 5 hours of geocaching, that battery can die. I actually had mine die out here today placing caches. So if you're going to use the iPhone, make sure you got good batteries, make sure you got your maps preloaded, and all your coordinates are going to want to be loaded before you get out here on the ranch. Now that goes for whatever device you have. Now the GPS devices that you're purchasing, in addition to all the features that you're going to want to look at, like maps, digital compass, altimeter, color screens, and cameras built in GPSs, you're going to want to just make sure you got a cable, because not all of them come with a cable, and you want to load your coordinates onto your GPS unit as soon as you can, so you can start studying the terrain and picking out what geocaches that you're going to go for. Well, that's about it. Hope you have a really good time out there, and be safe. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Brian. My geocaching name is Our Web Stop.
I'm Mitch, and my geocaching name is Scuba Freak.
We've been geocaching for 6 or 7 years, and we've come out here to help set up caches for you at Wild Canyon Games. The terrain out here is beautiful, but there are some issues that you need to pay attention to for safety. We're going to go over some of those with you right now.
Alright, you're going to want to be careful around steep cliffs. The rocks are very fragile. Falling rocks are a danger. You want to be careful about that. If there's people up above you looking for something, they might start kicking stuff down. So helmets aren't a bad idea.
There is some wildlife out here that you should be aware of. You can get into ticks down by the water, especially in tall grass. Make sure you check yourself for that afterwards. Just feel around under your ears, around the back of your head and in your scalp. Maybe have a partner help you look. Ticks aren't a problem if you get them out. If you have troubles getting them out, go see the medical center and they'll help you. Other things we've seen here are scorpions. Typically they're under rocks. I don't see why you'd need to be looking under rocks. Don't be looking under rocks like this and sticking your hands under there until you take a good look. Another thing is holes. Sometimes caches can be found around the entrance of a hole or kind of a little crevice. Don't stick your hand in there without taking a look. Reaching in here for a cache, you might find a snake. That's one of the reasons I like to take sticks, hiking poles. You need to look into a crevice or a hole. Just probe it like that first to make sure there's nothing in there.
Hi, this is Pablo Mack. James for Jesus and I are placing a number of SAG stations out here for you this year. There'll be about a dozen of these SAG stations, and you'll have the waypoints for each one in your GPS before you start the games. Now the idea behind a SAG station is you've gone too far out, or you're out of food, you're out of water, you're hit the wall and you're done competing. Locate one of these SAG stations. Inside this you'll find some water and some food and some stuff to keep you comfortable until we come pick you up. Open up the can, the stuff will be inside. Now the ammo can you find will be either green or black or orange. The big visibility will be a flag, about a 6 or 8 foot tall flagpole that you'll see. The idea behind these is to be very visible from a distance. You can see it once you get close to it. Go ahead and access the contents inside and just stand by, because we'll come by after the competition's over and come pick you up and take you back to the ranch. Hope you enjoy Wild Canyon Games this year. We put a lot of work into it. Had a lot of fun putting this out there for you. James for Jesus and Pablo Mack say, stay safe or keep on caching.
Howdy. My name's Chris. Been working with Wild Canyon Games for a bit. Here's some of the terrain you'll see on your geocaching adventure. Let's go. All right, wave. Good job.
Hi, my name's Pete. I'm part of the geocaching setup team here at Wild Canyon Games. This year, as part of the event, we're including a pack that every geocacher is going to take with them out into the backcountry that we hope will improve the safety of the event. So inside the pack, we have a few items that will improve your chances of being found if you're lost, surviving a night in the wilderness if you end up having to spend a night outside, and hopefully just make things a little bit more comfortable for you. First of all, we have a small first aid kit. It's intended for small scrapes and scratches, mostly to stop bleeding. It's not an advanced first aid kit, but it's got some band-aids in it and some antiseptic and things like that, just mostly to make sure that people aren't walking around bleeding and getting dirt in little cuts and increasing the risk of infection with something that otherwise would just be a small scratch. Also, we have the safety blanket. This is a typical emergency blanket. You see these in backpacking places like REI and any sporting goods store or survival outfits sell them. I'll be talking about this in a little bit in a few ways that you can use it. One safety kit for wilderness standard that every safety kit should have is a signaling mirror, and I'll be talking about how to use that in a little bit. This will improve your chances of being found if for some reason you can't get to safety on your own. Something that everybody should be carrying with them anyways, but we're including just to make sure you are, is a compass. You never know when your batteries are going to die. You never know when you're just not going to be able to find your way on a GPS. Your equipment can always fail you, but these things keep on ticking. So we're going to include a map with this as well that shows all the geocaches. So if you know that you were at cache 257 and you know which direction north is, you should be able to find your way back to camp, or at least to one of the safety SAG stations. Also in here we have a whistle. This is a really simple device that can help with being found when you're lost or injured. 3 quick blasts, and that's a lot quieter than it can be, are all it takes for someone within earshot, and the range on this is about a mile. That covers a lot of people, to let somebody know that you're in trouble. They should respond with 2 blasts, and if you hear 3 blasts, let somebody know that you heard them with, and then try to get help. Let somebody know that you heard somebody blowing on their whistle and where you were when you heard it. If you are in trouble and you blow your whistle, stay put. Get out your signaling mirror, try to signal for help if you see the airplane. If you're waiting for the airplane to go over, and there's an airplane going over through the entire event, back and forth over the event. If you see the airplane going over, or if you don't see the airplane going over, play with your signaling mirror and spot out ridges around you. Maybe somebody will see it and be able to clue in on your location. If you can get to safety, try to get to one of the safety stations that it shows on the map and will also be in your published waypoints. that's about it. This is your pack. We hope you don't have to use it, but if you do, there's a lot of things in here that can help you out. Thanks, and have a good event. Alright, so in everybody's pack you're going to have a singling mirror. It's in a Ziploc bag. Obviously you're going to take it out of the Ziploc bag to use it. And once you get it out, you'll notice that it's not as shiny as it could be. That's because it's got a little protective coating on it, a little plastic to keep the mirror in good shape. So, using a signaling mirror is a lot easier than you might think. As long as you've got the sun in front of you and the object you're trying to signal in front of you, somewhere out here, you're good. It's as easy as using your fingers as like a gun sight, and then reflecting light down your arm until you get to your sight. And then when your fingertips are lit up and the object you're trying to signal is in between your fingertips, then you'll actually be signaling somebody from as many as 10 miles away. So this is what it would look like from about 200 yards. And this is what it would look like from about a half a mile out here in the field at Washington Family Ranch. As you can see, these are very effective tools for signaling for help or just to get somebody's attention in the field. They've been shown to work from as many as 80 miles at sea from a boat to an airplane. Out here your range is going to be a little bit less because you're in the hills and you got dusty air and everything like that, but you certainly would be able to signal any aircraft that's in the sky within your field of view when the sun is also in your field of view. Next we'll be talking about the emergency blanket. So this is your safety blanket. Every team of 2 gets one. The blanket's intended for 2 people for an overnight shelter. However, it can be used for a few other things. For one thing, it can be used as a signaling device. We can actually lay it out on the ground, shiny side up, stake it out, and it can reflect the sun for an aircraft. It's actually pretty big and pretty tough. If you have a team member who's in shock, you're going to want to wrap them in this blanket to keep them warm. You want to put that shiny side closest to their skin. And if you're going to use it as a shelter, same thing. You want to both get underneath the blanket, get as much wrapped around you as possible, and cuddle up as close as you can to share body heat. This will keep as much of the body heat close to you as it can, and it will do an excellent job of keeping you warm through the night. It's not as comfortable as a sleeping bag, but it'll do the job. So, as a signaling device, as a shelter for 2 people, or as an emergency medical blanket for 1 person, this is another great tool that you'll have in your pack. Alright, so this is just another really quick example of a way that you can use your blanket as a signaling device. So in addition to your signaling mirror, always use your signaling mirror, but you can lay this out on the ground, staking out the corners, and by allowing it to move a little bit in the wind, it will pretty much always be reflecting light back towards everything in this general area if the sun is over here. So it reflects a lot of light, which just improves your chances of being seen in an emergency.
Each registered team will have 4 participants in the geocaching event. Usually, teams compete by dividing into 2 different 2-person teams. Teams are not allowed to split into single competitors while in the field. Violations will result in disqualification from the geocaching event, and no points will be awarded to the entire 4-person team.
At check-in Saturday morning, be ready to hand in the sheet with your first, middle, and the furthest cache you plan on reaching. This information will be used to determine where to start looking for someone in case a team does not return in the time allotted. The geocaching event begins promptly at 7 a.m. It will be important that you're at the sports center before this time, ready to go. At the end of the event, it will be important that you're back before the time ends so that you do not incur any penalty points. If you're not back by the end of the event, but you're within 10 minutes of the finish time, you'll lose a total of 10% of your cache points. If you're back within 20 minutes of the finish time, you'll lose 20% of your cache points. If you're back within 30 minutes of the finish time, you'll lose 30% of your cache points. If you're not back within 30 minutes of the finish time, then you will lose all of your cache points, and emergency search procedures will be initiated. On Saturday morning, be ready to hand in your sheet with your first, with your middle, and with your last or the furthest out cache that you plan on reaching. With that information, we will be able to determine what direction you're headed, and if a team should not return in the time allotted, we will be able to send out a search team to look for you. I want to thank you for watching our safety video, and I want to cover just a few items that we talked about on that video. First of all, safety. Stay together. You go out as a team, stay together as a team. That's for your safety. Secondly, just recognize that the most direct route isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it's better to go around that object, especially as it gets later in the event. Be prepared. It's important for you to recognize that you need to be prepared to go out into the wilderness when you enter an event like this. Now, we have provided you with some very basic items, but bring what you need to go out safely. Hydration is really important. Bring a bag or a bottle that's large enough to hold liquid that you would need over the duration of that event. Especially if it's hot or warm out, you're going to need plenty of fluids. Know your GPS device. Use it ahead of time. Use it with friends, with family. Get to know that device so that when you're out for this event, you don't have to figure out how to use this device, but you can focus on the objective of finding caches. And lastly, we have an allotted time. Plan on being back by the time that the event ends. That's for your safety and so that we don't have to send out a search party looking for you. On behalf of Wild Canyon Games, on behalf of the Geocache team, I want to welcome you. I want to thank you for being a part of it. Hope you have a great time out there and be safe. And remember, what limits?